Hi, I'm Anupam. Let's understand business. In this current session, I shall be throwing light on the sociological model of consumer behavior. The sociological model views individual as part of the complete society. It considers the influence of the society and the social being of the individual as important factors in the decision making process, the product use decision, as well as the post usage behavior of a consumer. We shall be discussing each one of these in detail. As per this model, the behavior of the individual is largely aimed at seeking confirmation from his social class. Let us have a look at the various assumptions based on which the sociological model works. As per this model, the individual is a part of the society and also of various groups which form the complete society. The buying behavior of an individual is influenced by these very groups. The primary groups, like the family, friends, and close associates, exert the maximum influence on the individual. The informal opinion leaders influences the lifestyle and buying behavior of the individual. And finally, the individual depicts the role to confirm the style and behavior pattern of his or her social class. Now, let us have a look at this model. As per this model, we have the stimulus, which is the input, the processing, which is the analysis, and finally, we have the response, which is the output. All these three components are joined together through a network of feedback. So we have the inputs, the analysis, and the outputs. The inputs or stimuli may consist of the purchasing power of the consumer, the internal or individual factors of the consumer, the social and cultural groups to which the consumer belongs, the marketing mix details given out by the organization and its effect on the consumer, and finally the environmental factors which may affect the behavior of the consumer. These inputs or stimuli are connected with the society through a network of feedbacks. Let us try and understand these stimuli with the help of a few simple examples. First and foremost, we have the purchasing power. We know that students buy cigarettes despite having limited money and means. This purchasing power of the student comes not from the money in their pocket, but rather from the pressure from their peer groups. When we talk about the internal or individual factors, we are more concerned about the locus of control of the individual, whether the individual is internally controlled or his locus of control lies outside within his group. If we look at the social factors, we know that youth today is more inclined to social drinking. Drinking alcohol has now become a norm among the young. Culturally, different people may look at things differently. For example, the same cow could be leather for one, a deity for other, and dinner for someone else. Even marketing mix could be source of input for individuals as per the sociological model, that is the product, the price, the place, and the way the product is promoted. For example, while choosing a school or college for the children, people may base their decision on the advice they receive from their friends or relatives. Similarly, while buying a high-priced product, they may subject their decision onto the advice of the peer groups. Similarly, food supplements are effectively sold at gymnasiums and health clubs. Why? Because there everyone is concerned about their health, and so it becomes an easy input to the individual. Similarly, while choosing or targeting children, people use cartoon endorsements, which is widely used so that it becomes an effective input to the person making the decision. And similarly, products like the Pokemon Go have achieved a cult phenomena which can be considered as almost an environmental factors as far as the input is concerned. Moving on to the processing part of the model, we have the analysis of data, which consists of the perception of need, the search for information about the alternative products available in the market. The problem solving involves the evaluation of alternatives, which product is good for me, which product is not good for me. Similarly, the decision making, like purchase or not to purchase decision. Even not to buy a product is also a decision. And all these kind of analysis happen in the presence of a social feedback mechanism. That is, inputs from the society or the peer group becomes an important aspect while these analyses go on within the mind of the consumer. So, the analysis happens in the presence of a social feedback mechanism. Analysis like, all my friends own a bike, I should have it too. It's a simple analysis regarding the perceived wants and desires. Similarly, what should I wear for the party? Let me see what the gang is up to. It's an example of the information search. Similarly, what school is best for my kids? Let me check what the peers are doing. A typical example for evaluation of alternatives, which is a kind of a problem solving mechanism. Similarly, decision making like whether to purchase or not to purchase a product is also based on the feedback or social cues that keep coming during the processing phase of the consumer. Moving on to the response, the output may consist of decisions like to buy or not to buy a product. That is, whether a product would be purchased by the consumer or the consumer may decide against buying that product. Similarly, once a product has been purchased, there could be a decision based on a usage. That is, the consumer may choose to use the product or at the same time he may choose not to use the product. In our daily lives, we might have come across so many products which we purchased at the spur of the moment, but later on chose not to use it. Similarly, another set of response could be based on the post-use behavior. That is, once the product has been used, what is the resulting behavior that the person showed, how he used it, how he disposed it of. They also become an important part of the response being shown. And all these output scenarios are again fed to the society through the same feedback mechanism. So the response could be to buy or not to buy a product. For example, among a group of friends where a few of the friends are smoking, an individual can choose to pick up a cigarette while the other may abstain from smoking. Similarly, another response could be a post-purchase reflection. For example, one of the friend may feel good about smoking while the other at the same time may feel a bit bewildered or confused whether to offer cigarette to others or not. Another set of response could be based on the post-use behavior. Once a person uses a product, how is it that the group behaves and the feedback received from the group, how is it the person using it is likely to behave in the current situation and even in the future, as is evident from the second picture. The sociological model states that all these output scenarios are fed to the society through a feedback mechanism. That is, there is a two-way feedback which is going on within the society. The person who took the input, who processed the information, who showed a particular kind of output is exposed to the kind of feedback of the society on an instant basis. So the sociological model basically states that it is the society which controls an individual's behavior. The buying behavior of an individual thus is based on the parameters set by the society. Finally, we come to the criticism of the sociological model. The sociological model is criticized on the basis of its basic assumptions. So, let us have a relook at its assumptions. First and foremost, it states that an individual is a part of the society and also of various groups which are there within the society. Here, the model does not state the kinds of group that may be present within the society. Secondly, it states that the buying behavior of an individual is influenced by these groups. Since the kind of groups have not been identified by simply stating that the buying behavior is influenced by these groups, there is no certainty as to what kind of effect or what kind of behavior can be expected from those individuals. Furthermore, the model does not specify the amount of influences of different kind of groups. Though in the next assumption it states that the primary groups like family, friends and close associates exert the maximum influence. But it has not been proved within these three, family, friends and close associates, who would have the maximum influence. And in absence of such an information, this model actually does not suffice its purpose. Moving on, the next assumption being that the informal opinion leader influences the lifestyle and buying behavior of an individual. Now, who this particular opinion leader would be is something which the model does not specify, and how such an informal opinion leader be identified is again a question that remains within the mind of the learner. Moving on, the assumption states that individual depicts the role to confirm the style and behavior pattern of his or her social class. Here again, the term social class is quite vague. By simply stating that the individual would be depicting the style and behavior of his or her social class, the model does not specify any worthwhile information. Finally, the model does not specify the effect of feedback on each of these components. For example, the model specifies three specific components like the stimulus, the processing and the response. And at each of the component, it simply states that there is a mechanism of feedback which goes from the society while the various processes are taking place. For more on this topic, you may refer to the following books to which I had also referred. For further details on the model, Please feel free to contact me at anupamkr@gmail.com. That is ANUPAMKR@gmail.com. Thank you.